Hello, welcome. My name is Raisa and this is Raisa's Bookshelf. I am really excited to be doing this video because I have an unhealthy attachment to my books. I love having a library, I love having books on my bookshelf, but the other day I was looking through my bookshelves and I realized that there were a lot of books in there that I just either didn't like anymore, read them and didn't like them, or books that I would never, that I'm just not gonna read. And I don't want to waste my time. I think I'm trying to be a lot more deliberate with what I read and what I don't read, and so a lot of the books that I got are from when I was younger or recent books that I've read that I didn't particularly love. So the first is actually a Stephanie Meyer book. It's The Chemist. I believe this is like a thriller, if I'm not mistaken. And I attempted to read it one time. I didn't really get into it. I love thrillers, but this is just something that I'm not going to, I really don't care for it, to be completely honest. And then I have two of the Lunar Chronicle books by Marissa Mayer. I used to be in love with this series when I was younger. It used to be my favorite one. I think a couple of years ago I tried to reread A Cinder and I just didn't really like it. I think the series is for younger people who are starting out reading. I think this is a really good entry to like young adult. I do recommend it. I liked it, but not as an adult anymore, which does suck. But I only have the second book, and then I think this might be the the one before the last one. So this is the fourth one, I believe. Yep. And then I do have a very famous fantasy series. So I have the book set, okay, of the Court of Thorns and Roses. So I read the first book, and then I was halfway through the second book, or a little bit less than halfway through the second book. And I discussed this in my last video of my current reads. I was reading it and I was not liking the writing style, and just the author is not a good person in my opinion. So I'm just not going to, I don't want them in my bookshelf, so I'm going to get rid of them. And then I have Stephen King, a bunch of Stephen King books here. This is The Long Walk, Everything's Eventual, and then 1408. I'm not sure. I think it's like a short story with 1408. And then this is a copy of The Shining, and this is a copy of The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Honestly, I'm kind of debating whether or not I should give this book away. This has a lot of like nostalgia for me. It's kind of iconic, but I don't think I'm gonna read it again. I've read it a couple of times as an adult and I didn't hate it, but I don't know. I also was like, should I give my Twilight books away, because I have like the complete series, but I was like, no, let me hold on to them a little bit longer, just because I don't think I'm gonna read them ever again. But maybe I do one day. I don't know. I might. That's a maybe. And then this book is Night Sky by Susan Brockman and Melanie Brockman. I hated it. I tried to read it a couple of years ago, and I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it. I didn't really care for it. Or the writing, so I'm just gonna give it away. And I believe that one's sci-fi. And then these ones, I'm actually kind of hesitant. I might just keep the very first book in the series. This is the Maximum Wright and Angel Experiment books by what's his name, Jace Patterson. I have Maximus Wright. Maximus Wright is Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports. School's Out School's Out, Forever, and then Fang. I used to be obsessed with these books when I was younger in high school. And one time I sat down and I was like, I'm gonna reread Maxima's Ride, because I remember literally being so like enthralled by that whole world, but it sucked. And I regretted it so much because I held so much like nostalgia around it, and so much like, oh my god, this is so good, but the writing wasn't that good. I'm gonna be completely honest, it wasn't that good. I'm debating whether or not I should just keep the very first book in the series just as a little like, you know, nostalgic moment, just like the host. So I don't know, that's also a maybe, but I'm definitely giving away the other books because I don't intend on reading them ever again. I'm so sorry. Okay, so then this one is the return, book 1 on Disneyland's. I was a Disney kid. I'm not gonna lie, I was a Disney kid. Obviously, one of my favorite series, Growing Up with Cinder, or the Lunar Chronicles. So I was meaning to read this, and then I never did. And right now, as an adult, I don't think I'm really interested in reading that. So yeah. And then this is Rogue Wave by Jennifer Donnelly, yeah. I generally do not know what this book is about. It has a beautiful cover, and that's probably why I bought it. But I think I have attempted to read it a couple of times, and then each time I didn't really care for it. So I'm just not gonna try again. It's a very beautiful book. The headings are really beautiful. Every chapter has like a purple heading, so yeah, I'm just not really interested. And then I actually recently read this earlier this year, Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson, and I strictly got this book because of the cover. I gave it, I think, 3 stars. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't like good, in my opinion. And then The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I think I read this either earlier this year or probably last year. I didn't like it. I was like kind of getting it at the beginning. I was like, this is good, I like it, this is a solid romance. And then as you know, the story progressed, the character, the main female character, was just like annoying. And it also happened with this book. The main female character and her decisions and her actions, and just the way like she was treating the male character in this book was just not the vibe. It was not romantic, in my opinion. And honestly, shame on you. I never want to be, I never want to be on the man's side. So shame on you for making me like the men more than the woman in the book. And then this one, I love the movie, didn't like the book, which is kind of crazy in my opinion, because usually typically people like the book more than the movie. And then this is Norse Mythology by this man who should not be named. I don't want him in my bookshelf. He's a horrible human being. Please Google him. And then this is The Upside Unrequited by Becky Almaretti. I believe she wrote Love, Simon. I'm not really interested in like young adult. I feel like this book is for like really young teenagers. I'm not really into that much anymore. And then the next one is this is the first and second novel of the Peculiar Children's what's it called, series. So this is Miss Peregrine's for Peculiar Children, and then Hello City, and then by who was it, Ransom Riggs. I wanted to love the series so much. I wanted to get into it, but honestly, I was like dragging this whole book. It wasn't the writing, it was just like, I don't know, it wasn't my vibe, if that makes any sense. but I understand why these books are so highly regarded and so many people love them. I wish I like them, but unfortunately I just didn't really appeal to me for some reason. And then, oh, I really hope that doesn't fall. There's more Stephen King books in here. I don't really care for them. Doctor Sleep. And then these two like little kid books that I've had, not when I was a kid. I think I was supposed to give this to my brothers, but we don't live in the same state, and And this is a Nancy Drew and Clue Crew book 6. I don't want to read that. And then there's the Captain Underpants. If you guys remember Captain Underpants, I'm debating whether or not I should just like keep this for my kids. I think that would be really funny. So I'm gonna put this in the maybe file. I might keep it. Should I also keep this one? Nancy Drew was so iconic. I mean, I'll keep it. I'll keep those two. Those are cute. I'll keep them. And then more Batman. Anyways. And then there's these two books that I just don't think I'm gonna ever read. The Bookkeeper's Apprentice by Laurie Keene. And then The Rainmaker by John Grisham. I believe this one has a movie. Or maybe not. But anyways, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna read this. Those are thrillers, I believe. And then this is Blink by K.L. Slater. And then it also includes like another second book. I think it is called Safe With Me. Yeah, Safe With Me. I am okay. I read both of them. I didn't particularly hate them. I didn't like them either. This one, I hated this book. It made no sense to me. This is The Perfect Nanny by Laila Selimani. I am so sorry I butchered her name. I apologize. Yeah, I didn't really particularly like that book. And then The Silent Wife by A.S. Harrison made me want to throw up. And not in like, oh my god, this is so creepy, in the, please, why do I continue reading this? I'm sorry, no disrespect. But let's see, this book sounds actually pretty interesting. I don't think I want to read it, to be completely honest. I think if I was younger, maybe. And then Everybody Sees the Ants by A.S. Keene. That's what it's called. Has a pretty cool cover, but not my vibe. And then The Murder House by David Ellis and James Patterson. James Patterson, I have a bunch of James Patterson books because I used to go to this thrift store that had them for like 50 cents if they were paperbacks. I don't want to read James Patterson books anymore. I don't see the merit. I don't like, the writing is kind of mediocre in my opinion. The House Next Door, and then Our 11th, and then Don't Blink. I feel like somebody's dad might appreciate this books more than me. And then this is again David Ellis by James Patterson, Invisible. I would say this is one of the more decent James Patterson books. I read this like literally maybe 5 years ago, like more than that, when I was in high school, so take that with a grain of salt, but I do remember having a fun time reading this. I'm so sorry about that. I was rudely interrupted by my phone. Anyways, I was saying that I want to be a lot more intentional with not only what I'm reading, but what I'm purchasing and the books that I want to see on my bookshelves. So this might not be the last on-haul. I might be on-hauling even more books once I get to the books that are still on my TBR, unread books on my bookshelf. Anyways, so yeah, that would be all for today. I'm really excited to continue reading, continue doing videos and talking about books. And if I spoke rudely about any of the books that you liked, I do apologize. I don't mean to offend anybody. I'm just gonna be blunt with my opinion. So yeah, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.